Hi guys, so I've been having lots of fun building all these lovely little sets for my version of Gary Gygax's Tomb of Horrors. I'm going to make a little one shot for some friends, and yeah, one of the main requirements I was sort of thinking when I was making these little sets is I want them stackable. As you all know, I live in a small little place and I don't have a lot of room, so yeah, that's why I'm making lots of sets, dioramas, that sort of stuff. Yeah, that is very stackable. So this is my latest creation, and as you can see, it's kind of like 4 rooms in one. And obviously each room's going to hold its own sort of perils, dangers, traps, disasters and monsters basically. So let's crack on and show how I made this. So like all the sets I've made, I started off with some plywood and some foam board on top, just so this is a nice base to obviously make my dungeon floor tiles for obviously the figures to stand on. And as I am going to be sort of making this into sort of 4 rooms, that's the first thing I wanted to do, was make sure each room was kind of the same size, just makes it nice and easy. And obviously I want to sort of split this up. But rather than it being sort of like a corner angle there in the centre, I wanted to have a bit of an angle there, just so I could have obviously a door. So you can see a doorway going into each of the rooms. Obviously, even though the door doesn't actually open itself, it's just sort of a nice sort of way to sort of start the rooms off. Because yeah, you kind of need a room to get into a door, or a door to get into a room even. What am I talking about? Yeah, anyway, cracking on. So using this foam board, like I say, I'm loving this stuff now, because it's something I've not really used before, apart from obviously the last few sort of builds of D&D stuff. It's great. Yeah, it just cuts so easily. The white stuff not so much, but the purple stuff you can imprint really well as well. I've just recently made some rollers up, which will be seen in an upcoming video. Yeah, so someone did mention to me some time ago in one of my videos. I used to score this with a pen initially, and it used to, sometimes it would go nice and sometimes it would almost sort of rip and tear the foam. So someone suggested we'll score it first with a blade, so it's nice, you get a nice little cut in there, and then go over with the pen. And that's exactly what I'm doing here, and yeah, much better results, a much cleaner looking line, and certainly no sort of rips and tears in it. But obviously you can put those in afterwards. And there you go, obviously all the sections are now sort of nicely marked out. Again, because this is because of my figures, that's why I'm doing it in this squares, just so you can sort of see the movement. And yeah, as you can see now, I'm just sort of roughing up the floor. Just basically go over it with a pen. Don't go too deep, or obviously you can if you want to, but in my case I'm not going too deep, and I'm literally just going haphazardly all over the place. I've marked out and scored the wall tiles, and then getting the silver foil, just going over it to obviously indent some sort of texture and make them look a bit more rough and ready. And yeah, pleased with that. So I've got my bits that are going to make the centre bit up, and then I'm using some Gorilla Glue. I've used this in the past, but the one I've had in the past was the one that kind of expanded, like sort of foam. So I've got the clear one this time, which basically doesn't expand at all. And I'll have to admit, I love using this Gorilla Glue. Obviously it doesn't dry instantly. About 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes, depending on the sort of temperature of the room. It dries, but when it does dry, it is, yeah, it's kind of like super glue, which is pretty cool. And obviously the main thing is it doesn't dissolve any of the foam board, which is obviously a bonus. So yeah, there we go. It's like I'm making a little chimney stack there. But yeah, great way to start. And say 10 minutes later, that's all nice and dried, and then I can crack on and make the rest of the walls that are going to obviously partition these 4 different rooms. And again, obviously you can see that I've cut out a slot in my panel, just to obviously get a nice sort of clean edged sort of finish to it. And yeah, the tiles kind of sort of roughly meet up, which isn't too bad. I try to make it like that, but sometimes when you try and do things, they don't always come out how you want. And yeah, so it didn't take too long to obviously like divide this room up. Obviously each panel took quite a while, because obviously you've got to do both sides. But yeah, no, I'm pleased with how it looks, and I say the fact you can get four sort of like mini sets out of one is pretty cool. And just because I don't like the sort of finish between the wall and the floor, good old grout or speckle, whatever it's called in America. Yeah, good old grout I use, and just sort of fill in any sort of gaps really. Again, it doesn't have to be too neat this bit, because any bits that do look rough and ready, well, just adds to the effect of the build itself. And as you can see, I finished off the top bit as well to make it look nice and neat. And yeah, guys, sorry for those who don't want to see any 3D printed parts. I'm afraid I do 3D print quite a few parts. Obviously, the main sort of builds I like to do obviously bits and pieces, but then some sort of bits. Well, if you've got a 3D printer, it's very hard not to use it for almost everything. So I've got the Anycubic printers, but I do have an Anycubic Viper printer, which is obviously a filament one, and it's quite large, so you can print off large pieces. So I do resist the temptation to use that one and just use the Anycubic Photon Mono, as it's obviously a smaller one, and I try and use it mainly just for figures. But as you can see, sometimes I do like to do doors and a few other little bits, like these bone columns. Again, the kind of thing that well, I don't know, you may be able to make this out of scratch building it, but it wouldn't be as neat as looking as these. And obviously, because I wanted a few of them, it does make it a lot easier just setting the printer going, and yeah, job done. So yeah, links in the description, guys, to everything I use, as in the materials I use, obviously the printers I use. So yeah, go check them all out, because obviously it all helps me out, and helps me continue making these kind of videos, which is cool. So yeah, as you guys would have seen, some of these sets you would have seen in previous videos. Because the good thing about having these sets is when I do paint little miniatures, I've got a nice little background to obviously pose them in. And this one obviously was used in one of them. It was a little the Satire Painter, and so yeah, I think she looked pretty cool in that one. So there's one more sort of painted figure I've got coming out, but you'll soon be able to see which room that is. So yeah, so that's basically the rooms done. There are a few other bits I'm going to put into the other rooms, but obviously some things are easier to paint sort of separately and then just place in afterwards. As you can see, I used a green primer on the foam, just because obviously it's one of the primers that sort of seals it. And the reason for green is, well, that's the only one I had. The other one I had was a sort of dungeon colour, which is obviously dark grey, but that had run out, so I used the green one. But obviously you paint it in whatever you want, because it's going to get covered in, well, other paints basically. So with these kind of tiles, I thought I'd go doing them sort of a variety of different sort of shades. And obviously this one's a complete different shade, just to sort of mix it all up. Obviously this will all get a black wash afterwards, but yeah, I just wanted the tiles to look a little bit less regular basically. So again, I'm fairly new to these kind of like builds, so I am sort of practicing, making it up as I go along. But obviously, yeah, guys, if you've got any tips and tricks on certain things, especially when it comes to making things with foam, by all means let me know in the description down below, or the comment section even, just because obviously I do read all the comments. And yeah, guys, I am learning all the time. Everyone's learning all the time. So yeah, you might suggest something that's simple, but it's something that I've not done before. So yeah, please leave comments on how I can improve what I'm doing, or make things easier, or just more enjoyable really. But yeah, so I'm loving this kind of stuff. So painting wise, you know, obviously I'm fairly sort of a basic painter. I kind of like doing dry brushing. It's one of my favourite things, I guess. So yeah, basically get the base colours on, bit of dry brushing, and then like we're doing here, good old wash. Yeah, I can't say how much I love washes. They are just the best thing ever, just because they really do sort of make things look a bit more natural looking, just because they add up a bit more sort of different sort of shades of colours and shadows and a bit of darkness there. So yeah, good old washes, love them. Okay guys, get ready for a shameless plug of some of my merchandise in 3, 2, 1. If you play tabletop games, then you're going to have loads of these. That's right, dice. And these lovely things come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, from plastic ones to metal ones to gold ones and to huge ones. All the ones I use can be bought from Easy Roller Dice, link in the description. But don't you just hate it when this happens? Too many dice innocently go off the edge of the table and under the sofa. If this has happened to you, then you need my face on a dice tray. So whether you're rolling just the one die, or several dice, or if you play a game where you use tons of dice, then you need to be rolling them on my face. So check out Easy Roller Dice, where you can find this great dice tray, all these varieties of dice, and use my code MINI15 to get 15% off your order. And who knows, rolling your dice on my face might give you that lucky roll. Click on the link below when the video finishes. Okay, so back to the build, and yeah, continue with the washes. I've got a variety of colours washes, from obviously black ones to sort of brownish ones, red ones, blue ones, and yeah, obviously use them where you think appropriate really. So I like how this is looking. I've obviously got my little picture frames there, but with no pictures in. So to obviously do that, I basically just printed out a variety of pictures, mainly going for ones that look like they would fit sort of a medieval sort of setting. Obviously the Queen there. So yeah, it just goes with cutting them out and then gluing them into the appropriate sort of size frames. And I think the result on this worked really well. So this is definitely another sort of set I'm going to be building that's going to have picture frames in it, as this worked rather well. And obviously the frames are 3D printed. Pretty much most of the things I got this time that I used came from Thingiverse. So basically just go to Thingiverse, type in, well, dungeon bits, frames, anything to do with what you need really, and you'll find a whole variety of stuff there. So yeah, I seem to get most of my sort of bits and pieces from Thingiverse, apart from the figures. I do like the figures now from my Mini Factory, because they do have tons and tons of wonderful 3D model makers there. So go check them out too. And yeah, there we go. So most of the sets are complete. There's a few more bits I need to put in. This room is going to be like a dungeon room. So that's why I wanted to get some sort of columns with lots of chains. And obviously the stretching rack there. Again, 3D printed. But yeah, obviously I love the 3D printer. And obviously all these bookshelves, which you would have seen in one of my previous videos with the saucy looking librarian. Again, yeah, 3D printed little candles and little books. These are obviously easier to print and paint sort of not in situ. That's exactly what I did. And as this one is going to be sort of the torture room, I feel it needs to have a lot of blood splatter. So that's exactly what I'm doing here. I may have gone over the board with the blood splatter, but hey, it's a torture room. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of a lot of blood around. And again, this just helps when I'm doing the one shot to freak out the people who actually enter this room and see this amount of blood, and a few other little bits and pieces that go with it. So yeah, there we go. 4 sets in one, and yeah, I'm really pleased with how they turned out. And I say the fact that I've made all these sets so they are stackable is really good, and say the fact of having 4 sets built in one is really good, as these are great backgrounds to sort of take photos of my little figures when I paint them. And as you can see here, these are the ones that you've probably recently seen. But yeah, I will be doing obviously a lot more painting of figures, because I need a lot of figures painted. And when I take photos, these are the lovely backdrops, or backdrops even, for them. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I just want to say a quick shout out and thank you to all my patrons, as well as the sponsors, for helping making it possible for me to sort of keep making these videos, and obviously buying the materials I need to build stuff. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Leave comments down below, hit the like button, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, take care. Bye for now.